Good evening, guys. This is Cool Silver. I am back here with Midnight Glitch. Just wanted to add a couple things to this video. So, yesterday I had gone and completed a battery capacity test with Midnight Glitch. Went through, charged up to 100%, drove it down to 7%, and then calculated how much my battery was actually using or holding for that drive. So it was 5 hours. I got 300 miles, but the thing was, I had roughly, it rounded, but it was 64.5 whatever kilowatt hours out of my battery for that driving distance, and the other 7% was roughly another 4.5. So basically, Bjorn had just put out a video today explaining what he had saw with his car and has some concerns which over this past weekend. And so I decided to do my own test as well. And he has some of the results he posted. He actually included my results as well because I shared that with him. I'll link his video explaining everything a little bit better. But essentially, he was seeing only about 70 kilowatt hours available for use out of his battery, and other people have been seeing this as well, and it's been usually after an update over the summer. From what he saw, from what I saw, and a few others have noticed a reduction in what they're able to see as far as range, which in terms of the range itself, is because how Tesla calculates the mileage or kilometers that you drive is a constant. But they changed that. They tweaked it. So with the capacity of your battery, if it gets reduced or cut down, then ultimately that's less range that you get. So I had personally noticed with all the logging that I do with my car, I do some logging as far as my charges, my drives, and other things. But from what I noticed, in the original first small change in curve of the degradation of my battery started back early spring. So the update I pointed that one to was the 2019.8.3. Why? I don't know, but I noticed it pretty much right away. I noticed my numbers were not the same. I noticed it was starting to go wonky. I mean, up, down, up, down, up, down. My range was not consistent. The BMS was trying to rebalance. It was having a difficult time. There was reports at that time that Tesla was making adjustments to the Model S and the X because to one, older vehicles was having a difficult time not degrading any more than what they already had. Not sure the truth on that one. Probably not. The other was to prevent any kind of reaction or fire. So there was at least one Model S that caught fire in China. That prompted Tesla to go back through and take a look at the batteries and to make adjustments at least to the older models. Well, I have a feeling that they tweaked more than just those models. Around that time as well, in through summer-ish, beginning of summer, they had unlocked some additional range for the long-range rear-wheel drive, not the all-wheel, just the single motor. They revised the range for those. So I think there's something that was buggy, within the software, that they changed the constant, they changed what the algorithm is as far as what the top and bottom of the battery is. Now the top stays the same. You can only push so much energy in the battery, and as the battery degrades, you're not going to be able to actually know what that is unless the BMS hits that mark. So if you charge to 100%, the BMS will go somewhere close to here. That's why you see, like, sometimes they'll say, 30 minutes left, 45 minutes left, and it will keep charging. Then maybe 20 minutes out of that 40 minutes that it says, it's done. Well, it's because it's still trying to find where that top part is, where that, cut off, your battery cells are no longer taking any more energy. That's it. So you're not going to be able to really limit the top end because of that fact. The BMS just does not know your battery well enough, especially if you're like most Tesla drivers. You're not charging to 100% constantly. You're told not to. The car tells you not to. And that's to keep your battery happy. But with that, it also has a little bit of a fuzzy margin up at the top where it sort of knows within roughly about 2 to 4, sometimes 5 miles, where it'll kind of, cycle up and down when you're taking a look at your range. And that's the BMS just trying to, one, balance everything out, and two, it doesn't know where that top level is, if it's changed at all, so it guesses a little bit, maybe, 2%, if that. So I don't think they can really limit the top end. That's just my personal opinion, because it's not easy to do. Sure, they could probably write an algorithm, if it's within this band, at the top, and your battery starts, degrade, on further down, this is, what the range that you can expect. Now, what they can do is definitely limit the bottom. So if your battery's already charged, that's energy that you have. Now, if you just happen to slice off the bottom, basically you just stop before you reach any lower, So, to me, that Bjorn had mentioned that he thought he lost about 5 kilowatt hours out of his battery. Now he's seeing that it might be actually about 3 after his actual test that he did. And other people have done the same test as myself and him, and they've seen about the same 70 kilowatt hour available. Now, it's been reported that our battery should be, for the long range, 75 kilowatt hour, which there's a small buffer, and maybe like a kilowatt or two, just to keep the battery from completely breaking itself if it gets too low. So roughly that's about 73, 74 kilowatt hours, that you should be able to use to drive. Well, now it's about 70. So he had noticed that it was sometime during the summer, and I went through and I did see a dip down in my range, right about 20.4.4. It was about 2 weeks worth where I had that update, and it was fine. Then all of a sudden it dropped about 5 to 6 miles, and then it found a new kind of groove where the BMS was kind of keeping the battery, or where the car was keeping the range. So my guess is that you got the update, driving around for a while. The battery was fairly balanced as it was. It wasn't having an issue or anything else. Drove it for about a week, and then suddenly the next day, I'm getting, a few miles less. Then the next day, a couple more less. So it wasn't an immediate thing for my case. So I don't know if they intentionally programmed it in so it said, hey, BMS, recalculate, rebalance everything when possible. So, or the next time you recalculate or rebalance, this is the new numbers that you're going to be fitting into. This is the top range and the bottom of what we want you to have as far as usable energy. So once it rebalanced, once it went through, I saw, a slight reduction, or it had taken 2 different charge cycles to go through and try to even everything out. And so with that, it was fitting my battery to what Tesla wanted at that time. Now, I also do not know, and this might just be a thought, but since I didn't notice that until a week after I got that update, I wonder if Tesla has the ability to, with some updates, dynamically push small changes to your car. Write a config file for your battery to your car, have it download, have it checked from a server that Tesla has. I'm sure that if so, it's secured. They can only basically have the car pull that configuration down. It's not necessarily a push feature, but whenever your car checks in, it goes, oh, hey, I got these new parameters, this new configuration. I'm going to go ahead, apply that, and then the next day, or within the, however long it takes to apply that, like with the BMS, it might take a couple of charge cycles, to go ahead and do it. So that might be a possibility as well. Tesla does change things, they tweak things, they try to make everything as best they possibly can for everybody, as well as their cars, because they don't want you to be stranded. They don't want you to have a car with a battery that's basically broken. They don't want you to have your car towed and catch on fire because it was so low that for whatever reason the battery itself was having problems. They had a fault. So they don't want any of that bad stuff to happen. So they try to do things that's best for you, best for the car, also best for them. I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to service a car, unless they have to. And so, but at the same time, it's really frustrating that as an owner, you're told, hey, this car is rated for 310 miles, range. Whatever that is in kilometers, I forget because I'm in America and unfortunately, we use the metrics, or we don't use metric like everywhere else. So I constantly have to convert back and forth, and I get lazy and just stick to what I deal with every day, which is miles. But that's another topic. But it's really annoying that I got the car, it had 310 on it when I picked it up. I drove it around, I had fun with it. I was still getting, even at like 14,000 miles, about 308 in terms of range. In terms of my battery, it was well less than 1% degradation. Then that 2019.8.3 update came, and I immediately, within a few days, again, after that update, I saw a reduction in really strange numbers. I had, I usually charge to 90%, so it was anywhere from like 280 miles all the way down like 275, 278, to 80, 281, back down to 270, 268. I mean, it was all over the place. So over the course of probably a few weeks, then it kind of stabilized, and then I got another update, and it kind of went all wonky again, but it didn't really start dropping. But think about it. I got the car, say here, and sorry, this is kind of backwards from probably what you typically read on charts. But say I'm up here 310. I'm going along, as far as my range, and I got it back in September, and here it comes along March. All right, I got this update. Then all of a sudden it starts going down like this. It was kind of even, kind of a slight slope down because it was 310 and 308. So there's a little bit of a trend there, as I would expect. Then suddenly everything decided to trend down further. Now you can say, hey, that's just, you're going to see more lost throughout the first year. True, you are. However, what I did notice is the rate that it was doing that changed. There's no way that I can see or can think of that my driving or anything else, or even the weather changed, would cause more of a rapid, or an increase, not rapid, but an increase in loss, like that, unless there was something that was changed within the software or within the BMS to go, hey, reconfigure to these levels. So I noticed it then. It wasn't nearly as bad, but 310, 308, then all of a sudden it was down to like 305, 300. Well, it was like 308, it was moving along. And then 2019, 24, or 2019 24.4.4 is where I noticed the change about a week after. So it went from about 308 down to 300. That's a jump. 300 to 308 to 300. Then the next one is like 298. Then 296, and kind of up and down, but it never really reached above like maybe 301, 302. So 310, 308, maybe 306 here, 307, 308, up, down, 300, 298, 300, now I'm down here from 310. Smooth drop. So I went through and did my capacity tests. It did happen to rebalance, but I noticed that after every so often it does it drops and it spikes. So that I was getting 304 when I did that capacity test, as far as what it saw as range, and the that was a spike. So that was probably the BMS going, okay, where's my top end? I'm gonna rebalance. I did supercharge the day before. I only did that just to get home. I went up to about 80%. Then I came home. I was pretty low. I charged up to 100 just to see what the range was after supercharging, because sometimes supercharging does help rebalance. So I got maybe 1 mile extra, drove it around a bit, left it about 80% overnight, let it recharge to 100% in the morning, and did my capacity test starting from 304. So, where do we go from here? So, I guess the thing that really irritated me is that I had seen this, and going through my logs and whatnot, I wanted to say it was just regular decline of my battery, regular normal degradation of my battery. Unfortunately, or should I say fortunately, others have experienced the same issue, and so if it was, every car would be different. Every car would have a different capacity level. Whenever that, however old their car is, however long they drive, they're going to be at a different level based on that age and your battery, how well you take care of your battery, how you drive, how it's if you're hard on acceleration, all that. So everyone would be different, but everyone else that I've seen comments from as well, but mostly Bjorn had been the one that brought this up. Others had reported to him saying, hey, what's up? My range dropped. Can you test your car? Is there something going on? Do you know anything? Have you heard anything? Because he does have several good connections with a lot of the other EV companies, and I think probably again with Tesla as well. They probably don't talk as much as what I like to think that they do, but occasionally they probably go, hey, how you doing? Especially when he goes to the service center. I mean, there might be someone there that says, hey, is there anything that else that we like get your feedback on or anything? I don't know, but he noticed other people were having similar issue. He tested his car. I tested mine. A couple other people had said, hey, what's up with this? We're all getting about the same level. So anyone that was already had degradation well below that 70 kilowatt hour limit, or no longer can get that because their car is, maybe they got their car, when the Model 3 first came out. They're one of the awesome people that bought the car almost 2 years ago now, or over 2 years ago. So they were one of the first. So maybe they were below that. They didn't notice it. They just drive the car back and forth. They only, they're like me. I charge to 90%. I don't need to, but I charge to 90%. When I get home, it's roughly about 60%. And that's during the summer. Right now I'm at 55. Because, sometimes traffic's a little bit more. Sometimes, like today, it was a little bit warmer, so the air conditioning ran. The cabin overheat protection ran when I was sitting in the lot, things like that. In the winter, it drops down to about 30-40% when I get home. which is why I bought the long range, because I might have an extended drive home because of weather. In which case, my normal being 30-40% when it's super cold out, if it takes me an extra hour or two driving, that's going to be more AC running, more heating. So that might be 20% on the 1 day or 2 days or 4, 5, 6 days out of the year. So that's why I got a long range. But everyone that has spoken up on this, they're seeing right about 70 kilowatt hour of their battery available. So everyone changed roughly all at the same time. And that tells me, and it only made sense, that something happened to all the cars, or a section of cars, or cars that haven't reached this battery degradation limit, even it out. I don't know. I can only guess. I can only have a conspiracy theory, if you want to think of it as that. I can only guess as far as what's going on, but at least with this last test, I can say for sure that I'm not getting 110 or 310 miles out of the car. I at least got 300. I have the potential of getting another 20, but that's only because I was driving at a very constant rate. The heat was off, the AC was off, no fans. I was, basically driving a lot of times below the speed limit. My average was about 60 miles an hour overall throughout that trip. So now it's mostly highway, which most of the highways around are 70. So there are some that are 55. So that brought down the average. But I tried to, obviously go with traffic. But I kept the speed limit. So people were going around me. I didn't care. I was enjoying the drive. But essentially, the usage was very constant, very stable, and very predictable as far as what the battery was going to show in my actual range and consumption out of that battery for that range. So Tesla, if you're hearing this, can you please go through and at least give it an explanation, or hey, let people know. Another thing, I need to go back through the notes of all the updates. A couple of the things that did change during the summer was, one, the high-speed performance. So they changed how the front motor would operate at higher speeds to kind of give you more range. And then also there was another update regarding range. I just thought of it, and now it's gone. One was the high speed overall, and then the other was peak power. So maybe it was with the peak power updates that they had changed something that started this rebalancing and this different constant as far as what range you're going to expect. That's the only thing I can think of. That's the only two things that the 3 have gotten that would have changed to constant, how much you're going to get as far as range. But in particular, even if the range, I drove well below what Tesla had as far as the rated range. 215 watt hours per mile, which its rated range is more than as it's probably like 225, 230 ish. I don't really recall. So yeah, you could do the math. But as far as that now, I mean, I'm not getting, or I drove below that, so I was actually getting more range than what they had said I was supposed to. But because the amount of battery was reduced slightly at the bottom end, it really should be like that, you know. They trimmed from the bottom just a little bit, you know, like 2-3 kilowatt hours. That can shave off a good 10 miles. So they essentially changed the overall effective range of my car, and there was nothing other than, hey, we've tuned some stuff so you can get better range. If it's better, then why is my battery not at the same capacity anymore? Good question. So Tesla, I hope you come out with some kind of idea, or reach out to some owners that maybe are having this issue, notice this issue, because I'm pretty sure that everybody's having it. No one's really noticed it very much to really cause much of a concern. But if you happen to know what exactly has been done, let us know as drivers. I mean, you don't want to have negative press. I get that. You don't want to have something out there saying, hey, we took away a little bit of range, but it's going to save you from having problems down the road. It's going to save you from having a battery that degrades faster. It's going to, you know, save you from having issues with a failing battery module. It's going to save you from having to have your car in service for battery trouble. Maybe it actually saves a little bit with the inverter. Maybe it saves on how the supercharger calculates. I doubt it. Putting energy into your battery. Maybe 70 is a better number. It's round. It's easy to work with. I don't know. So I can, like I said, only guess. I'm just going on and on at this point. But check out Bjorn's video. Bjorn had already done this test before. I live streamed it. You can go back and watch that not great audio and video. I know the angle of the screen, I didn't have a proper setup, and some of that you can actually see me driving down the road, but and rambling on just like I am now. But that's out there. I'm not going to take it down, even though that is not the best quality. It serves as documentation I did that test. So I did actually go through and do some other filming. I'll go ahead and edit that, get it up. I still have another CHAdeMO video that I did not get posted. I've been going through a lot of issues over the past year. There's really no good reason or excuse, especially for you guys that do want to watch. But I understand, and hopefully you do as well, that the CHAdeMO video that I did was about a month or so ago. I just never got around to posting, and I'll get that up as soon as possible here within the next day or so. I'm going to edit that together because there's I actually ran into some difficulty with the CHAdeMO adapter, and it was mostly because the chargers that I was trying to use. So you want to take a look at that and give feedback to the charging provider. I'm not going to say who in this video. Give feedback as far as here in America, we don't have that many fast chargers around. We got like EVgo, we got ChargePoint, we got Electrify America, we got Blink, we got a few other small ones out there. Volta. I got a stack of RFID cards like this for each one, because you never know when you're gonna run into one if you need one. So if it was free, or even if it was a couple bucks, I didn't, just to have it mailed, I went ahead and did it. But give feedback to those charging providers about those stations. Let them know, hey, this is a good place to put a new one. Anything that can help you have a better experience as an EV driver. That'll be amazing. So to wrap this up, I'll get those videos up. I'll put the capacity test all together. Is going to be basically typical clips of, as I was going along that 5-hour drive, just giving updates, and then kind of wrapping up at the end and showing you more about the CHAdeMO station I stopped at. And then I have a separate video about, initially using the CHAdeMO adapter that I'll also throw up. So thank you guys for watching through all this. This is a really, really long rant and video. I appreciate you. Please give me comments, good or bad. I know that my last live stream was not the best quality. I'll work on it. Any tips, please let me know. I love getting positive criticism and feedback. So any good criticism, equipment that I can use, whatever else, let me know, and I'll consider it. And if I use it, great. If not, I still thank you for at least getting back to me. Thank you very much. And once again, thank you for watching, and have a great rest of the evening.